I used to stay up all night overthinking, and then I would wake up feeling so anxious about the day ahead that I quite literally just wanted to pull the duvet over my head and sleep through it. But since I started doing one exercise before I go to sleep, I now sleep soundly. I wake up excited for the day ahead, and I haven't had a bad day in 5 years. Now, that's not an accident, and it's not luck. It is a result of how this 7-minute exercise actually reprograms your brain chemistry right before you sleep. You might have heard of the theta state, that highly suggestible, almost hypnotic state that our brain enters right as we drift off. Now, we can't easily talk to our brain while we're in that state, but we can influence it. So think of the entire hour before you go to bed as your golden hour. Whatever you focus on during this window sets the menu for what your subconscious is going to be digesting all night long. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through a super simple 3-part exercise to do before you go to bed that is going to get you these same results. And no, it doesn't involve turning off your phone or wearing blue light glasses. It's about one thing: focus. Your experience of life is 100% reflective of the direction of your focus. So when you change your focus, you change your life. So let's jump into it. There was a Harvard study done that uncovered something called the Tetris effect. Participants in this study spend hours upon end playing Tetris. And what they discovered is that they'd find themselves out shopping and thinking about how certain things could be stacked most effectively. And so what this uncovered was what they then called the Tetris effect, which essentially means when you spend a long time focusing on something, it gradually starts to seep in to how you experience life in other areas. And this is more evidence that points to visualization and manifestation as actually being effective and more scientific rather than spiritual. The longer you spend time focusing on something, the more it impacts other areas of your life. So for instance, if I was to start focusing on a desire to move house, and that was what I spent my mental time focusing on before bed, in the morning, throughout the day, then I might overhear an estate agent in a coffee shop talking about a house for sale that they were about to do viewings on. And that might then lead me to going to see that house myself. Our brain starts to become more attuned to anything related to that thing that we've been focusing on. Another example is when I was first learning to drive and thinking about what my first car might be. And I know this is really typical, wanted a mint green Fiat 500. I don't anymore, but at the time, that was the car I was obsessed with. And I started seeing it everywhere. I would point it out all the time, I would think about it all the time, and I started seeing it on the roads more and more and more. Were they there before I started to learn to drive? Yes. Why hadn't I seen them? Because my brain wasn't prioritizing seeing mint green Fiat 500s. But as soon as it was, you best believe it would show them to me everywhere. I then discovered, I think they're called Figaros, something like that, but they're a really cute car too that comes in a similar shade of mint green. And because I'd noticed the mint green Fiat 500s, I started noticing other cars that were slightly like them too. And that is the result of the Tetris effect, or as you might have heard it before, the reticular activating system. And there is this wonderful quote that I think expresses it so clearly. Your life is the creation of your mind. So this exercise that we're going to do before you go to bed every single night is all about becoming super intentional with where your focus is going. And to do that, we're going to break it up into 3 parts: past, present, and future. Our state, yes, is determined by our mind, but our mind is never out of these 3 areas of past, present, or future. We either find ourselves reminiscing on the past, that could be regrets, or it could be fond memories. In the present, really hyper conscious of what we're doing in the present moment in an anxious way or in a content way. Or on the future, so thinking about what's coming up, maybe worrying about what's coming up, or feeling excited about what's coming up. Either way, we are never thinking about anything that exists outside of these 3 states of mind. And so before we go to bed, we're really going to put ourselves in a positive state of mind in each of these areas. We're removing any focus on guilt, depression, or anxiety-inducing thoughts or situations, and instead really encouraging empowering, exciting, feel-good thoughts, which means we should have a really positive sleep and wake up feeling in the best mood possible for the day. So let's get into it, starting with the past. If you're anything like me, then you probably fall asleep overthinking everything that went wrong in the day, things that you said that maybe you shouldn't have said, worrying about whether you did a good job or not, or maybe just concluding that the day was a bad day and focusing on all of the parts of the day that you didn't like. So the first question you're going to ask yourself at the end of each day is, what was your favorite moment of the day? Now, this is quite frankly the reason why I haven't had a bad day for 5 years. Not because challenges haven't come up, but because what this question does is it combats our negativity bias. We are animals, essentially, who, just like any other animal, has been wired to look out for danger. The creature that is the human has spent so many years outside, foraging for food, hunting for food, trying to keep each other safe, living in tribes. Even though it feels like we've been in the modern day where we have technology and we have a roof over our head and we have shops down the road and we can order things online, that really has been for such a small amount of time in the span of the human being. And so we still have that hunter-gatherer brain, the brain that wants us to be in survival mode all the time, because if we were to feel like we're thriving, that is not a safe space to be, because, well, an animal could jump out and pounce us and eat us at any moment, or we could starve to death at any moment. Except you and me know that that's not quite true. So we have to consciously do things to get out of that survival mode and into a mode of, we're okay, we can relax. And so this question really stops us from falling asleep thinking about what was the worst part of the day, and instead forces us to put on some glasses, rose tinted, and look through every single part of the day from the lens of, in what way was this good? I mean, we're not AI, we can't immediately be like, that was the best moment. We have to really think through, what was the best moment, what stands out, and also what actually were some of the things I didn't like as much, but in hindsight were some of my favourite moments. And you'll find that some of your favourite moments of the day are really, really unexpected. I typically find that they're the things that I didn't want to do originally, and they end up being my favourite moment. And also, interestingly, watching TV or scrolling is rarely on there. And there's a few other really clever ways in which asking yourself this question at the end of the day works. Recalling a positive memory actually releases small amounts of dopamine, the same feeling that you get when you scroll, when you eat something nice, when you exercise. It's that feel-good chemical, dopamine. And so when you recall these favourite moments, dopamine gets released, which in turn decreases cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which typically we get when we start overthinking. So if you are a chronic overthinker and overthinking starts to really come up when you're trying to go to sleep, which it often does, then asking yourself this simple question is going to actually create a chemical change in your body, leading you to feel calmer and more positive. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman, and apologies if I've absolutely butchered the pronunciation of that, but he found that we judge our entire experience of something based on how it ended. And he coined that as the peak end rule. So in line with the peak end rule, if at the end of each day you do this 7-minute exercise, including asking yourself the question of what was my favourite moment of the day, you are capping your day off with something extremely positive. You're getting that endorphin boost without making your mind start whirring or your body firing up and feeling energized before you go to sleep. You are ending the day feeling good. You are literally rewriting your memory of the last 16 hours to be a good day, regardless of what actually happened. Now, really important thing to note here is this is not us trying to be toxically positive at all. But let me ask you a question. Do you deal with challenges better when you are calmer or more flustered? Calmer. Do you deal better with challenges when you feel more confident or weaker? When you're feeling more confident? And do you deal with challenges better when you are more energized or when you are depleted of energy? When you're more energized. And so absolutely, you can spend the last hour of your day ruminating on what went wrong and trying to fix those. However, what would be much more resourceful is to put yourself in a good headspace, get a good night's sleep, wake up in the morning feeling more confident and more optimistic, and with the energy, the calmness, and the internal confidence to go out and attack whatever challenges came up the day before. Overthinking and ruminating on them throughout the night is just going to leave you tired, lacking confidence in yourself, and just assuming that your life isn't good. Whereas just because you've had a challenge, just because something not ideal has occurred, doesn't mean that your life is bad. It just means something less ideal has occurred. And it might actually be a really great opportunity that leads to something else. Back in summer, I had something really not great happen, to be honest with you. It wasn't ideal, didn't see it coming. And would I have chosen for it to happen? Absolutely not. However, because it happened, it led me to hiring someone that I otherwise probably wouldn't have hired, especially not in the capacity that I hired them. And hiring them has been one of the best things for my business and just for my happiness as well. I now have an amazing teammate who really, really enhances the business and allows me to focus on other things that I previously wouldn't have had the capacity to focus on. And so, would I have chosen for that thing to happen? No. Am I really glad that it did happen? Yes, because it's led to real positive change in my life. So again, we're not being toxically positive, we are being clever with how our brain works. So that's the first part done. That one question that is going to lead you to think about the past in a positive way. Number 2, we are moving on to the present. And the question is, what is one thing that you are proud of yourself for today? We don't want you falling asleep thinking about yourself as though you are not a good person or you've not done well. There might be things that you could improve, but we don't want to focus on that right before you're going to sleep, where you could start then overthinking or getting stressed or worried that you're not a good person. We want to think about what is something that you are proud of yourself for, because again, that's going to lead you to wake up in the morning thinking, I want to do more of that thing. If you fall asleep thinking, I'm really proud of myself that I hit my 10,000 steps today, I'm really proud of myself that I went to the gym, then you're going to wake up in the morning excited to go to the gym again, because it feels good when you can feel proud of yourself. But if you start saying, I'm rubbish, like some journals, like the 5-minute journals that you can get, they include the question of, what is one thing you could have done better today? What is one thing you regret about today? And I'm all for self-reflection, absolutely. But I just don't think that the thing that you should be doing before you go to bed, especially not based on the science, is thinking about what you would have done differently in your day. Neurologically, that is a really bad thing to think about. So we want to be thinking about what you're proud of yourself for. Pride is linked to serotonin, and serotonin is linked to, well, depression and duvet days and feeling lazy and low. So by identifying a win, you're literally giving yourself a chemical boost of serotonin, an antidepressant, before you drift off to sleep. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Research also suggests that the single biggest motivator is the feeling of making progress. So even a tiny win like, I made a healthy lunch today, triggers your brain's reward system, leading you to fall asleep feeling content and waking up feeling like a good person, which is going to have a much more positive effect on your day than focusing on how tired you feel and how stressed you are. Let's get that dopamine and serotonin boost. Number 3, future. Depression, and I say this as someone who has had depression before, is a real lack of purpose, a lack of knowledge of where you're going, a lack of clarity, but most clearly lack of purpose. And purpose can either refer to something important that's coming up. So I feel purposeful because I'm a surgeon and I have a really big brain surgery coming up, as an example. Or just something you're excited about, like you have a friend's birthday at the weekend. Now, I don't think it's a good idea to get a sense of purpose right before you go to sleep by thinking about something really important that's coming up, because that could easily stress you out and cortisol will start pumping. So instead, we want to ask, what is something you're excited about tomorrow? And if you can't think about something tomorrow, think about something that's coming up at the weekend. But it could be something as small as, and to be honest, this is something I get excited about every single evening, waking up in the morning and having a morning coffee. I love morning coffee, being all cozy in bed or under a blanket on my sofa. So it doesn't have to be anything big, but asking yourself what is something you're excited about coming up helps your brain to recognize there is a future, there is good stuff coming. Rather than focusing on what's stressful about what's coming up, anxiety over what's happening tomorrow, you're falling asleep with the mental assumption that there is something good tomorrow or in the next few days. And by identifying something that you are looking forward to tomorrow, you give your brain a mission for tomorrow. And your brain loves a mission. It loves making progress. And it prevents kind of those morning blues where you wake up and feel like, oh, here we go again. It prevents that cortisol from coming in as much because you're feeling excited about the day. Instead of your brain waking up and looking out for the threats, it's looking out for the rewards that you've promised it. There's also something called the Zeigarnik effect, which is the psychological tendency to remember more the things that are unfinished or uncompleted, more so than the completed ones. Now, if you're going to bed thinking about your to-do list and all the things you haven't finished, do you think that's going to keep you awake? You betcha. It views those things as open loops and keeps your brain active in a processing state, trying to make sure that you don't forget those things. And that's why it can be really helpful to have a journal or a notebook by your bed. And so when you have those things flying around, just get them onto paper. That way you tell your brain, it's okay, we can look at them in the morning. But the exercise of thinking about something you're excited for or looking forward to tomorrow really, really helps with that and kind of fixes it. Because you are actively tagging the future as a reward rather than a threat, thus closing the stress loop of the day and kind of opening a pleasure loop for the morning, moving the future from the anxiety folder to the excitement folder. So that's it. 3 questions to ask yourself before you go to sleep. And it might not even take 7 minutes. Ask yourself, what was your favourite moment of the day? No matter how small or seemingly insignificant, it's not the most impactful moment of the day, it's your favourite moment of the day. Number 2, what is one thing that you are proud of yourself for today? And lastly, what is something you are looking forward to tomorrow? Now, this isn't a do it for a week and you'll feel better for a month. It is do it every day or as often as you can. It's okay to miss a day, but if you want to rewire your brain, rewiring your brain takes practice. It's like if you want to learn a new skill, you've got to practice it. You don't get better by just doing it for a week. If you want to learn Spanish, yes, you might learn a bit in a week, but if you don't continue to practice it, you're going to forget that. Like if you don't study after a class at school, then you're going to forget everything that you learn in that class. It's how your brain works. It's a bit like a sieve. If you don't keep patching up the holes, the flour's going to drain through. So by just spending a few minutes each night answering these questions, you patch up those holes. You prevent that good feeling from seeping out. And it starts to impact your day, each day. There's another quote I wanted to share, and again, I'm going to butcher the name, but it's from someone called Anai Nin. Really, I know, that's not how you say it. And they say, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. And these 3 exercises I've just given you change who you are when you wake up. It changes how you go into your day. So my challenge to you is to just start with trying it for 3 nights. Try it tonight, try it tomorrow night, and try it the next night. You won't notice a big difference straight away. Hopefully, that endorphin boost and that serotonin boost will make you feel a little bit better when you first do it. And you might notice that you're feeling a little bit better in the morning. But if you do this exercise and then you scroll until 2 a.m. or you start overthinking things until 2 a.m., it's not going to change anything. You really want to get into the habit of doing this and then going straight to sleep. And if you do need to watch something, I would highly, highly recommend watching comedy. Because comedy, what does that do? It makes you smile, it makes you laugh. What does laughing and smiling do? It releases endorphins, it chemically makes you feel good. So if you feel the need to watch anything before you go to sleep, watch something that makes you smile, watch something that makes you happy. And a lot of neuroscientists who know this watch comedy before bed. So if they're doing it, that's a good enough reason for us to do it too. So try this 7-minute exercise for the next 3 nights. And also down below, I want you to comment something that you are proud of yourself for right now and get that serotonin flowing. If you found this video at all helpful, then click subscribe if you're not already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I appreciate you.